I'm joined by my colleague Sakal. Joining Sakal in our Delhi studios is Mr. Sreeram Chaulia, an international affairs expert and Republic's contributor. Over to you, Sakal.
Of course, Hari, indeed, a significant visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a two-day visit to Sri Lanka. We were having those live and exclusive visuals from Colombo. Prime Minister, in fact, also addressed at the International Vaisakhi Day there. To put this in bigger perspective, what is it when we talk about the big picture as far as is this going to be a big push in terms of India, Sri Lanka, diplomatic or perhaps cultural ties? I have with me in the studio Dr. Sreeram Chaulia. He's a Republic contributor and the author of Modi Doctrine. In fact, it's a first book, full-page book, full-length book on Prime Minister's diplomacy, and also executive editor Abhishek Kapoor in the studio. Sreeram, let me quickly come to you. The major takeaways, you were listening to Prime Minister quite keenly, and also for the fact that the kind of voices and the reception that has come from the Sri Lankan side, the top leadership saying, calling perhaps India one of its own kind.
It's a spectacular show of cultural diplomacy. The Sinhalese, who are the majority community in Sri Lanka, represented by the mainstream parties and the ruling dispensation, always have nursed a kind of a civilizational fear of being submerged by Hindu civilization, especially of the Tamils of South India and the minorities in Sri Lanka. So although the Sinhalese are a majority in their own country, if they looked at the wider space, they always felt that they were somehow under siege. So what Prime Minister Modi is doing is he's somehow breaking that siege and creating a confluence between Hinduism and Buddhism and assuring the Sinhalese elites that we are with you, we respect Buddhism. Buddhism originated in India, undivided India, and we are
speaking in Mali. I mean, that's a major part of...
He's promoting Pali, the Dhammapada. He's reading out from the scriptures. He's visited Buddhist shrines. Today he's going to go to the important Dalita Maligawa temple in Kandy. So I think all of this shows that he's trying to move away from what was perceived as India being a somehow more of a pro-Tamil party, which used to be historically the case. In a way, he's now balancing it out by showing that we have got, equal respect for the Buddhists, and in fact, he's been promoting Buddhist diplomacy in a big way, ramping up our own tourist centers in Sarnath, Sanchi, Gaya, and all these places, and trying to tie, he said, South Asia, East Asia, Southeast Asia, and Central Asia. This is the full realm of where Buddhism spread. And he's trying to bring all of them together under one conglomerate with India as a hub for this, meeting point.
Before I go to Abhishek, in fact, my colleague Hari in Mumbai studio has a question for you. Yes, Hari, go ahead.
Sakal, Dr. Sreeram made a very important point. As you also mentioned, this is the second visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Sri Lanka. His earlier visit, was spectacular because he visited north of Sri Lanka, which no other Prime Minister, Indian Prime Minister in the past has done. So he catered to the Tamil constituency. This time, he's sending out a message to the Buddhist Sinhalese constituencies. He's taking part in a series of events, Buddhist ceremonies across Sri Lanka. And he even started a speech in Sri Lanka with Ayobhavan. Ayobhavan means Namaste in Sinhalese. So he's sending out a very strong message to the Sinhalese majority in Sri Lanka, and also saying Sri Lanka has a friend in India.
That's right, Hariharan. Actually, you see, is an important intervention by India to create reconciliation in the island nation, because the Tamil Sinhala divide has led to bloodshed, war, ethnic strife, suffering for nearly 3 decades, and they are not yet fully emerged out of that conflict. So in a way, what he's suggesting is that India can be actually the meeting ground for these two civilizations, these ancient civilizations that have much in common and have actually the same source of truth. And this flight he has announced between Varanasi and Colombo is also significant, because in a way he is telling the Tamils, who are majority Hindu in Sri Lanka, that you can now directly connect with your historical spiritual heritage, which is in India. So it's actually what I call a multi-partisan diplomacy, where earlier India was associated only with one side, but now we are covering our bases on all sides and looking to be much stronger and much more capable of carrying all the sides, because ultimately our influence, our ability to deter the Chinese, it's great that the submarines have not been allowed to dock this time by the Sri Lankans. All this depends on bipartisan consensus of all the major ethnic groups and the parties, and that's what Prime Minister Modi is achieving.